The arrival on Cernok. 7. The sky above Cernok 7 burned orange as the transport ship lowered into the dusty alien plains. Lena stepped off the ramp, her boots pressing into soft, red earth. She had trained for this moment for years, an assignment no one else wanted. The mission was simple: observe and report. But there was a silent warning in the briefing. One word. One being, Thorin, a giant alien warrior, the last of his kind. No one had ever gotten close to him. All previous diplomats, soldiers, and scientists had failed. Some returned in fear, others didn't return at all. But Lena wasn't like them. She adjusted her pack, scanning the distant rock spires. The alien settlement was built in a natural crater hidden from most sensors. That's where Thorin lived, alone. Behind her, the escort squad waited. They would go no further. This was her walk, her risk. She took a deep breath and started the long walk into the canyon. Each step echoed with questions. Why had the Alliance even bothered sending her? Why her? Maybe because she volunteered. Maybe because she believed giants weren't monsters. Hours passed as she climbed across ridges and boulders. The wind grew silent. Then she saw it. A massive figure, half her height even while sitting, rested near a fire made of metal scraps and glowing stones. His body was covered in thick armor-like skin etched with symbols. His arms looked like they could lift tanks, but his eyes, they were quiet, watching, waiting. Lena didn't raise her voice. She didn't raise her hands. She just stood there. "I'm not here to fight," she said softly. He didn't move. "I'm not here to study you or trick you, just talk." Still, silence. Then Thorin stood. His shadow stretched long across the canyon floor. Lena didn't flinch. She felt her heart beat like a war drum, but she held her ground. His voice was deep, like thunder that whispered. "Human." "Why?" Lena smiled slightly, though her throat was dry. "Because no one else ever asked you what you want." There was a pause. The air shifted, then Thorin nodded slowly. "Come, sit." A fire between worlds. Lena sat across from the giant alien warrior, her hands resting on her knees, careful not to show fear. The fire between them crackled with strange blue sparks. She could feel the heat, though Thorin seemed unaffected. For a long time there was no sound except the wind pushing through the narrow canyon. Then the giant spoke again. "You are not like the others." Lena looked up. "No, I'm not. They came with weapons. Or lies. You came with silence." She gave a soft nod. "Silence listens. That's where trust begins." Thorin studied her carefully. His thick gray skin shifted slightly as he moved. He leaned forward, resting his huge hands on the ground like the roots of a tree. "You are small, weak. Yet you do not tremble." Lena smiled. "Strength isn't always in muscle. Sometimes it's in staying when others run." He gave a sound, a low rumble that might have been laughter or maybe surprise. She took a sip from her flask and offered it to him. He raised a brow, then took it gently. It looked like a toy in his massive hand. After tasting it, he handed it back. "Strange water," he said. "Filtered. For humans," Lena replied. "What do you drink?" Thorin turned, reached behind him, and brought forward a rock with vines wrapped around it. He cracked it with a finger. Inside, a liquid shimmered like oil mixed with starlight. He handed it to her. She took a cautious sip and coughed hard. Thorin tilted his head. "You still live. Impressive." Lena wiped her mouth, laughing. "Barely." They sat for hours, exchanging simple stories. She spoke of Earth, forests, cities, oceans. He spoke of the wars of the 9 suns, of battles where he stood alone, facing entire fleets. His people were gone now, wiped out. Not by war, but by fear of what they were. "I am the last," he said quietly. "A monument to what the galaxy feared. A reminder that giants fall too." Lena's eyes softened. "Maybe you're not just a reminder. Maybe you're a beginning." He looked at her, long and deep, and for the first time the firelight caught something in his eyes, sadness and hope. The test of trust. The next morning, the canyon was silent, but Lena was already awake. She had slept near the fire, wrapped in a thermal blanket, while Thorin kept watch. He hadn't moved all night, or maybe he had, so quietly that she never noticed. She stood and stretched, glancing at the massive figure who sat still like a statue. Then, his deep voice broke the quiet. "You stayed," she smiled. "I said I would." Thorin stood slowly, his towering form casting a long shadow over her. "Then I offer a test." Lena's brow furrowed. "What kind of test?" He pointed toward the jagged cliffs beyond the canyon. "There is a place, sacred to my people. I will take you there. If you survive the path, I will call you friend." Lena felt a chill, not from the wind, but from the weight of his words. She nodded. "Then let's go." They began their climb in silence. The cliffs were sharp, narrow, and dangerous. At times, the wind howled so hard it nearly pushed her off the edge. Thorin moved ahead with ease, but always kept a watchful eye on her. He never offered to carry her. This was a test, hers to pass. Hours passed. Lena scraped her hands. She slipped twice, but she never stopped. Sweat soaked her back, her legs trembled. Still, she pushed forward. Finally, they reached a high ledge. A flat surface lay ahead, glowing faintly with alien symbols carved into black stone. Giant pillars circled the space. In the center stood a tall monument, shaped like a blade sunk into the ground. Thorin turned to her. "This is where my clan made their final stand. No outsiders have ever walked here." Lena looked around in silence, honoring the memory of those long gone. "Thank you for trusting me." He stepped forward, placing his massive hand on the stone blade. "When we died, the galaxy cheered. They called it peace. But they never knew us. Only our rage." Lena approached slowly. "I'd like to know more. About your people. About you." Thorin turned, eyes locked with hers. "Then kneel." She hesitated, but then dropped to one knee, resting a hand over her chest. A gesture of respect. He drew a strange, glowing mark in the air. It hovered for a second, then slowly floated down and touched her shoulder. It faded into her skin like warm mist. "What was that?" she asked softly. "My people's sign of honor. You carry it now." Lena felt a lump in her throat. She had passed the test. Whispers from the sky 2 days had passed since Lena received the mark of honor. She and Thorin had returned from the cliffs, and their bond had grown stronger. They spoke more easily now. They shared meals, memories, and silence, comfortable silence. But peace never lasted long in the galaxy. That evening, the sky above Sernok 7 shimmered. Lena looked up from the fire and narrowed her eyes. A small black dot was descending fast. A dropship. She stood quickly, grabbing her communicator. "No signal," she muttered. "They're jamming us." Thorin stepped beside her. "You were followed." Lena shook her head. "I didn't tell anyone about this place." Someone knew. The ship landed not far from the canyon's edge. Dust rose in a wide cloud, and from it emerged 6 figures in black armor. Alliance troops, not peacekeepers. These were the special operations kind, sent in when diplomacy was no longer considered useful. A voice echoed from their leaders. "Helmet. Lena of Earth. Step away from the alien and surrender." She stepped forward, hands up. "What is the meaning of this?" "You've made unauthorized contact with a Category V threat," the soldier barked. "You are to be removed. The creature will be terminated." Lena's blood froze. "No, you don't understand. He's not a threat." The lead soldier raised his weapon. "That's not your call." But before he could aim, the ground shook. Thorin stepped into view, rising to his full height. His massive body dwarfed the soldiers. His eyes glowed faintly, not with rage, but warning. "I will not harm you," Thorin said in a deep voice. "Unless you force me." One soldier panicked and fired. The shot struck Thorin's chest but bounced off harmlessly. The air tensed. Thorin didn't charge. Instead, he stepped protectively in front of Lena. She screamed, "Stop! Stand down! You'll start a war you can't win." For a moment, everything held still. Then a second voice crackled through the soldiers' comms. "Admiral, hold your fire. Orders changed. Fall back." The soldiers looked confused but obeyed. The dropship powered up. Within moments, they were gone. Lena turned to Thorin, heart still pounding. "Someone up there was watching." He gave a slow nod. "They saw enough to fear what would happen if you died." Lena smiled. "Or maybe they feared what I would do." Thorin chuckled, low and rumbling. "Then you are more dangerous than I thought." They both looked to the stars, now quiet once more. But Lena knew the galaxy had noticed. The question was, what would it do next? The message that shook the council news of the confrontation spread quickly, faster than either Lena or Thorin expected. Back on Earth, on distant colonies, even among neutral systems, one headline kept appearing: "A human befriends the last." Giant warrior. Alliance forces back down. Lena hadn't spoken to command since the soldiers left. But 3 days later, a drone arrived, small, silver, and silent. It dropped a message cube at her feet. She tapped it, and a hologram flickered to life. It was a member of the Galactic Council. Cold eyes. Stiff voice. "Ambassador Lena, your actions have drawn attention. The Council demands your presence in orbit. You will bring the alien warrior. Refusal will be treated as a violation of interspecies agreements." Thorin watched the message without a word. When it ended, Lena turned to him. "They don't trust what they can't control." Thorin nodded. "And they never controlled me." "I'm not asking you to obey them," she said. "But if we don't go, they'll come again. This time, with more guns." Thorin stood silently for a long time. Then he picked up a curved piece of his old armor and strapped it to his shoulder. Then we faced them. The council ship was vast, cold, sterile. Lena and Thorin stood in a circular chamber filled with ambassadors and representatives from dozens of worlds. Some looked curious, others fearful. A few openly hostile. A tall counselor stepped forward. "You are accused of violating protocol, forming an unauthorized bond with a known threat." Lena responded calmly. "He is not a threat. He's a survivor. And the only reason this galaxy isn't bleeding right now is because he chose peace." Another voice spoke up, sharper. "And what if he chooses otherwise next time?" Thorin stepped forward. "Then let your strongest come. I will face them alone, as I always have." The chamber went silent. Lena scanned the room. No one else ever tried talking to him. I did. And now you have a chance to understand a warrior your ancestors feared. A murmur spread across the delegates. Then an elder alien, small and thin, raised a hand. "Let her speak. Let him speak." And slowly, the council agreed. Lena stepped into the center of the room, Thorin behind her. "We don't have to be enemies," she said. "I came alone. He let me live. That is more than most empires have done. So ask yourselves, what's more dangerous? A giant who wants war, or one who finally seeks peace?" The room fell into deep, uneasy quiet. No one had an answer. But the galaxy was listening. Enemies in the shadows. The Council allowed Lena and Thorin to stay on the neutral space station orbiting Cernok 7 while discussions continued. For the first time in centuries, a giant warrior had spoken before the Galactic Council, not with threats, but with reason, and not alone. Still, not everyone welcomed peace. Late one evening, Lena walked through the quiet halls of the station. She passed delegates from distant stars, many still whispering about her and Thorin. Some watched her with curiosity, others with fear. She returned to her quarters to find a message waiting for her, unsigned. Leave the giant behind, or you'll both vanish before sunrise. Lena read it twice. Her stomach tightened. She showed the message to Thorin. I've seen this before, he said calmly. Fear breeds shadows, and shadows strike from behind. We need protection, Lena said. No, Thorin replied. We need truth. That night, they made a plan. Instead of hiding, Lena invited representatives from 5 key species to a private hall. She stood at the center of a wide table. Thorin stood behind her, silent but present. She didn't show the message yet. Instead, she told a story. How she met Thorin, how she climbed cliffs alone, how he offered her a test and gave her his people's mark of trust. When she finished, she showed them the threat. This message came today. Someone doesn't want peace. Someone fears what we've created. One ambassador stood slowly. There are factions, ones that profit from fear, from war. Lena looked at him. Then we need to show them they can't win. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The room trembled. An explosion rang out. They ran to the main hall. Smoke poured from the north wing. Screams echoed through the station. Thorin pushed past guards, his giant frame crashing through debris. He found 2 masked attackers trying to plant more charges. One looked up and froze. Thorin's roar shook the walls. They dropped their weapons. One ran. The other tried to fight, but a single swipe from Thorin's hand threw him against the wall unconscious. Security arrived moments later. The attackers were arrested, and the council had proof. The next day, new headlines spread. Attack on Peace Summit, foiled by Human-Alien Alliance. The giant stands with Earth, and the galaxy watches. Lena and Thorin stood on a balcony, looking at the stars. You didn't have to fight, Lena said softly. I did, Thorin replied. Not for me, for us. And for the first time he smiled. Not a warrior's smile, but a friend's.